Tell us your mentality, man, about playing offensive tackle. I mean, you have the potential, just to be absolutely elite.
Jam, go ahead, share your thoughts on the thesis.
Yeah, baby. That's what we do. We are the Buckeyes. What up, Buckeye Nation? What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Buckeye Boys, where we talk college football with real fans. I'm Devin, excited to be here tonight. Got a good show planned for you guys. Thank you to everybody in the chat who is here already. If you are listening and you can hear my voice and you are on YouTube, I encourage you to get in that chat, man. Maybe make a new friend today. As always, guys, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. If you're listening on Spreaker or Apple Podcasts, give Scoop a like. If you could do that, that would be great. And super chats are open. Super chats go to our Pay It Forward, help out veterans, and help out Teen Challenge, the ministry that saved my life. So any super chats, get those in early. We got kind of a two-parter show going on tonight. We have a guest, a recruit out of North Carolina. I, in my opinion, would say Ohio State's #1 remaining linebacker target will be joining us first here momentarily. And then after that, we'll be bringing VB Coach on here to dive into some Buckeye football. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, AJ Randall. What's up, AJ? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on here, introduce yourself to Buckeye Nation, and give us the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, man, because our hopes, my hopes, and I know there's a long way to go, is that one day I'm cheering for you in the scarlet and gray, but we'll dive into that a little deeper, man. So yeah, interesting story that you have with the family dynamics, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But obviously, football, AJ, is a big part of your life right now. It's a big part of your family's life, given your older brother's history and what he did. But dive into that for us a little bit. Tell the listeners, let people know that might not know, how did you get started in football and why?
So when I was like 4 years old, my dad he wanted me to play tackle football, and my mom she was kind of iffy about it. She was like, he's too young, he's too small, because in North Carolina, from you can't start under the age of 4, but from 4 all the way to 8, it's the same age group. So
Dang.
8 is the young. 8 is technically the oldest of the youngest, unless you
Yeah.
weigh too much. It's all about weight, but
Okay.
unless you weigh too much, it's the oldest of the youngest. So I played. I was terrible. I wore number 6 at offensive guard. I was a right guard my first year. My second year, I started playing running back. I was like the backup. Then when I was 6, um, oh my God, I pretty much scored every time I touched the ball.
Yes.
6, and then when I was 7 years old, I definitely scored every time I touched the ball.
Yeah.
And then when I was 8, I weighed out, so I was always a younger kid playing up.
Okay. Dang. So started young. I was about to say, before you brought up the weight thing, I was like, 4-year-olds playing 8-year-olds. It's kind of like in college anymore. I mean, when you get to college, your freshman year, you might be playing a 26-year-old. So I guess, get used to it when you're younger. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I figure normally when I talk to recruits such as yourself that are, in this line of, going on to college to play football earlier in their career, they've played. I always get surprised to hear the positions that they've played, and hearing right guard for you would be a surprising one for me. But you know, long journey going on. Talk to us. Give us a little bit of background, some family history, man. You come from a pretty long list of pretty good athletes, one might say. You can judge by that wall you got behind you with all those awards. Yeah, that thing's packed full. So Give us a breakdown of where that athleticism comes from, man.
So starting with my grandfather. Um, he went to Fair State, which some people are familiar with because of Trinidad Chambliss. But he's the athlete of the century at Fair State. He's inducted to the Hall of Fame. I think uh, three or four of my great uncles are also in the Hall of Fame at Fair State. But my grandfather has his own hallway with his accolades and everything like that at Fair State. Um, and then my mother, as you can see, she's a Clemson, she's a track Hall of Famer at Clemson. Um, she went to the Olympic trials in 2000. My dad played basketball. I think he played Division III basketball in New York at a school called Roberts Wesleyan, but he always tells us he should have chose football. Um,
Yeah.
and then my brother went to the NFL for a little bit. He graduated from Michigan State and Texas Tech, and then he played his COVID year at UConn. He played in the league with the Buccaneers to start. Then he had a stint with the Commanders and the Browns, and now he's about to play in the CFL for this next Canadian Football League season. And then my sister, she is at Kansas for track. She's a jumper. She does a long and triple jump, and she was a Big 12 freshman All American, and we're hoping that she'll be able to make the NC2As this year.
Dude, that's one of the most gifted families I've ever, had on the show before. I've heard a couple people say, "Yeah, my dad, my brother," but man, you got your dad, your brothers, your sisters, everything, man. That's pretty unique and pretty cool, man, to see that. So obviously, your parents have had a sense of what it means and what it's like to have success in college athletics. You've also had a couple examples in your life, but there had to come a point in time in your football career, probably at a very young age with you, when either your parents or a coach said something to you and it kind of clicked in your mind like, hey, I might have a future, right, in playing football. Do you remember that time, or did it come slowly? Around what age did you realize, hey, I could possibly have a future in football?
Um, Probably when I was 4 years old, after my first
Yeah.
season. I was even though I don't I didn't even know what I was doing. I mean, I was just trying to block, I guess. I don't know. But after that season, I realized like I wanted to play football. And I told my dad like I wanted to play the next year and the next year, and then it just became a passion of mine to play football.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty exciting, man. I know that watching your film and watching what you do, you can tell that you've been playing this game for quite some time. Super athletic, 6'3", 210 pounds. Is that about what you're at right now?
Yes, sir.
About
215, 210,
six.
215.
Okay. 6'3", 215. So, um, you made the decision and you thought, hey, I might have a future doing this. Obviously, with that, there comes steps in the process. One of those steps is receiving an offer. Can you tell us about what that felt like when you got your first offer? And when was it? And who was it? Who was your first offer?
So I was at a Duke. We were at a Duke 707 camp. Me and my team, my football team. I don't remember. We were playing a school from Charlotte, and I remember one of my teammates coming up to me right before we stepped on the field, and he was like, "The coaches are here to watch you." And I had a teammate. My teammate's name is Maddox. They were there to watch me and Maddox. We both played safety at the time.
Mm.
This was going into my sophomore year after my freshman year. So I had zero varsity film. I played JV quarterback. Um, I had no varsity film at all besides
Yeah.
quarterback, and that was like 3 plays in the playoffs. So I'm a little nervous and everything. I went to bed. It was terrible. Uh, I dropped the pick. Um, I didn't necessarily get. I got a touchdown called on me. It didn't look bad, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so then we come off the field. Maddox played terrible too, and we come off the field, and we were kind of disappointed, but because we still end up winning that game, so we had to play it back to back because we won. So we get right
Ah,
back on the field. Maddox had two PBUs. I had a pick and a PBU, and then we
yeah.
come out for after that game, and then we both get an offer from Duke. So that was my first offer. That's kind of the story behind
Dude, that's a pretty cool story, man. It's about that bounce back. I'm telling you, bro. That's man. I always bring it to. I know you might not be able to relate to this, but I talk about golf a lot, right? When you see golfers in the PGA Tour, they hit a bad shot, right, and they go on to the next hole and they're able to play good and hit a good shot. It's like they're able to forget the mistakes that they made and move on. That's what separates them from a lot of other golfers is that ability. Same with this, man. These NFL players, these college players, these quarterbacks, these linebackers, these safeties that have a lot of success. It's about that bounce back because you're gonna make mistakes, man. That's life. That's part of it. So that's awesome to hear, man. That bounce back story got that offer, bro. But obviously, your process is moving along here. You're getting to that point in time where you might be starting to narrow some things down. But given that this is an Ohio State show, and we know that, I mean, dude, you got, I think, Miami's after you, Georgia's after you, Texas is after. I mean, dude, the list of schools that is after you does not really match up to the ranking services very much. They're going to catch up to you here soon for sure, but that's irrelevant and doesn't matter. It's about those offers. But tell us about the Ohio State offer, when that came, describe that to us, and what that meant to you, and then we got to talk about what Buckeye Nation is going to find very interesting.
it. So I it meant a lot. I was always a humongous fan of Ohio
Yeah,
State, so it meant a lot. I think I remember this was maybe 2 to 3 weeks after we got an agent, and so he had texted me the day before, and he was like, "I put you on Ohio State's radar," and I remember him saying, um, "I'm not going to tell you it's 100% offer, but I think they like you." So it gave me wishful thinking, and so I remember me and Coach Laurinaitis had texted that whole night, the whole night, and then he told me he's going to call me tomorrow. So it was kind of a weird situation because my mom, her phone was like broken. So she didn't have a phone.
yeah,
And so this was right before a football game. This was a Friday night. And so my coach usually has us turn in our phones at 2:45 because he doesn't want us to be on them at all. No
yeah,
distraction. So 2:45 we turn our phones in. I had to keep my phone because my mom was using my phone as a work phone. So we go out to eat as a team like we usually do at a church. We go to a church to eat as a team. Um, so my mom volunteers this day because she has to come get my phone. So she decides I'm gonna just volunteer. So Coach Laurinaitis ends up calling me at 3:30, which is way later than it would have been because I would have had to turn my phone in.
yeah,
But he called me at 3:30 and I got an offer, which one, it already meant a lot. This is one of my childhood favorite growing up. But
yeah.
two, the timing and the situation and everything that was going on, it was just definitely God. So
Amen, bro. Amen. Yeah, made it a unique situation, and I'm guessing that relationship with Coach Laurinaitis and Ohio State has grown since then. How's the communication? I believe you visited there, correct? Weren't you? Haven't you been there once already? Tell us about that and a little bit. How's that relationship going now, and what was the visit like?
so I was on the phone with him a little bit earlier today. Um
Nice.
he's trying to he wants me and Q Quinn Cypher to
Yep.
come to be there at the same time on our OV. We grew up together as well. So
Yeah.
we played football together when we were younger, 4 and 5, 6, you know. Um so We were on the phone earlier talking about that, but the relationship is good. My parents like him. I like him. I think it's great. Um, and the visit when I went, I mean, it was everything I imagined it being. Uh, I guess that was the first time I can remember being. I went to a game before, but it was to watch my brother because he played at Michigan State,
Yeah.
and I didn't really remember too much. I want to say it was 2018 though. So that was a good season for Ohio State, but didn't really remember too much.
Yeah.
But this time, it was what I imagined it being.
Yeah. Amen, bro. That's really cool, man. And yeah, thanks for sharing that as well about Quentin. That was one of my questions to bring up about that relationship. Obviously, 2027 linebacker committed to Ohio State, Quentin Cipher. Dude's a dog as well. You guys have different skill sets, different type of linebackers. So that'd be pretty cool to have that you and him as the linebacker duo. Ohio State's recruiting North Carolina pretty hard this year. Rashid Streets, another defensive end out of North Carolina. So I like it, man. You guys got some ballers there for sure. So before I ask any more questions, we got to get to this, man. What's the dynamic like? You said your favorite football team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, right? That's phenomenal. We love to hear that. And chat, everybody chill out. You know what I'm saying? Everybody chill out. Give us the dynamic about maybe, let's say, let's just pick your parents. If they had to root for a football team, which football team would they pick?
So my mom is definitely picking Clemson. No,
Okay.
hands down. But my
Okay.
dad is choosing the Michigan Wolverines.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's just we know it's an interesting situation. We've seen it. This is recruiting. We're well aware that parents they root for a certain college football team. At least most parents, anyway. They're going to support their child and whatever college is best for them. But still, it's an interesting dynamic to talk about. I wanted to share that. I'm glad you shared that with us. That's pretty cool, man. A dynamic family situation with who roots for who. I found that funny, and that's instantly going to make you a pretty popular. If you were to commit to the Buckeyes, that'd make you a pretty popular commit right off the rip because that rivalry it's
Yeah.
intense. But if your dad's a fan, like you say he is, you know exactly how
Oh
intense it
yeah.
is. It's real. It's real. So that'd be a cool one to follow, man. But anyway, you're in the process of this thing. What is it that's gonna kind of finalize this for you? What are you looking for in a school? And what's gonna lead you to ultimately making your final decision?
Um, Definitely relationships. I think that's the most important thing. Um, my brother kind of made the mistakes of choosing schools, or I guess at Michigan State. He was recruited by Coach Narduzzi, who's the head coach at Pitt. Um,
Yeah,
but Coach Narduzzi left to go to Pitt when my brother was um, about to sign. So he kind of made the mistake of still signing. And then he kind of had to
yeah,
deal with a whole new staff, and it just wasn't the right place for him anymore. Um, so I think that relationships is definitely the most important thing. Choosing a school that I feel like values me the most and um, develops me, things of that nature. Um, and then the camaraderie in the locker room. I think that that's also very important.
yeah,
Um, you know, because this stuff is like a job now. Everybody getting paid and everything, so you never want to go somewhere where, what I'm saying, I even if I like the school, it'll be hard to go to work every day if I don't like the people that I'm with. And
yeah,
then I still want to love my school. Like my sister had a situation where she signed with Kansas and her jump coach ended up going to K State, which
uh,
is crazy, but he ended up going to
yeah,
K State. It was a better opportunity for him, and she stayed at Kansas because she loved the school. She loved. I mean, they were the only school. They're one of the only schools in the country that had forensic science major. So
yeah,
she's definitely stayed for that. But she was in love with the school, so
Mm,
it didn't force her to leave. That her coach was gone, if that makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, no, it does, man. Sounds like a pretty good list. Before we get into these super chats, got two questions for you. Some listeners got or two comments anyway. Where would you say who are some teams kind of in the lead right now? What teams are getting official visits? That's kind of how I gauge anyway. How much what teams are actually in on a recruit. If a recruit shows up for official visit, I'm going to assume that they're pretty high up on their list. So, you mind sharing that with us, man, if you can?
So the school that I'm like highest on besides Ohio State would probably be Oregon, um, South Carolina, Miami, Florida, and then Ohio State. I would say is
Yeah,
like my I don't want to necessarily say my top five.
I got you.
Um,
Yeah.
but those are the schools that I feel the most comfortable with at this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as you already know, things are so fluid anymore with recruiting. Things can change, relationships can be built, all those things can happen. You're still early, a long time to make that decision, man. But, I am absolutely thrilled that the Buckeyes are starting that relationship with you. And, we have the chance to get you on this team. That 2027 class the Buckeyes got going on looks to be pretty special so far with DJ Jacobs, Jameer Brown, Brady Edmonds, obviously Quentin Cypher. Kyle, there's a lot of good players in there already. Let's get to these super chats real quick and then we'll get you out of here. AJ, Clueless, thanks for the $5. He said, AJ, what number do you want to wear? And what does OSU's linebacker legacy mean to you?
Shoot, number one, that's my number.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Okay.
I my brother was like, we were talking about the other day. He said, I've never really seen a linebacker wear number one. That's super
Yeah.
good. And I said, you know what, you're right. I want to be the first. Then he asked me, he said, okay, so if you can't get number one, what number do you want? My basketball number is 15. And 15 is just not a number you see a lot outside of maybe a quarterback in football.
Yeah.
So and then he was like, I never seen a linebacker wear 15. I said, whichever one I get, I'm gonna make it great. So
Hey,
that's just, that's my goal.
I love it, man. Number 15 is my favorite number, by the way. So
Okay.
that's a pretty good number to pick. He asked about Ohio State's linebacker legacy. James Laurinaitis is at the top of the list of that legacy. So you know what he has done as a college player, as an NFL player, and even now as a coach with Cody Simon and Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. And so he's put this all together. Is it fair to say that you have a pretty I'll just ask you. So, what do you think of that? What do you think about Ohio State's linebacker legacy? Do you think it is up there with the top in the nation right now, with James Laurinaitis leaving the room,
Um,
leading the room?
I think that it's definitely on the uptrend. And I think that um regardless of if I go there or not, with Sincere Johnson going there, with Q saying that's where he's committed right now. I think that they're going to continue
Yeah,
to go to keep that trend. I think that Coach Laurinaitis has done a great job recruiting, um, and and then as a player as well. I mean, the pedigree is something that it's not you can't match that in a lot of places in the country.
yeah,
So I really I really do think that that's a big thing for him.
yeah, yeah, man. They bring in very, very skilled football players every single year, every single class out of the transfer portal. And not only that, Matt Patricia is the defensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, two NFL coordinators, two NFL head coaches. Those are going to be some pretty intense practices. Steely, thanks for the $2, brother. He said, welcome, AJ Randall. A lot of awards on your wall back there. Yeah, we talked about the gifted family that you have, man. That is pretty awesome. And Sean, thanks for gifting a membership. AJ, we appreciate you joining the show, taking the time out of your day. I'm going to be glued in on your recruitment, following it the whole way, giving updates on it. So we'll see. We'll see where you pick. Pick the Buckeyes. We'll definitely try to get you back on here again. But wherever you pick, man, you got a great support group behind you. It sounds like you got a great head on your shoulders, and you definitely have the physical ability to do whatever you would like to do in football, man. So keep the path that you're going. Last question on the way out. What is your go-to food, your go-to meal that you have to have? You wouldn't be able to live without it.
Um, my mom cooks this ribeye steak for me, and then she cuts it up and she puts potatoes, like steak and potatoes. It's probably my favorite meal. And she cooks it excellently. So I definitely want to choose nothing over that.
Dang, bro. Yeah, ribeye. You just can't. That's my number one. You cannot beat a ribeye. You just can't beat it. AJ, appreciate you, brother, for taking the time out of your night to come on here and share with us. Look forward to following your career, following your recruitment. Hopefully, become a Buckeye, but hopefully, you go somewhere that lets you just play with the skills that you have, and you love the college and all those things. We'll be rooting for you, brother. Hope you have a good
Thank
night,
you.
brother.
Yes, sir. You too.
Yep. Take care. There he is, everybody. AJ Randall. James Laurinaitis is recruiting him extremely hard. Just from the outside looking in, it, it seems to be the Buckeyes' number one want at linebacker to go with Quentin Cipher, the other linebacker out of North Carolina. Obviously, he said he knows Quentin. They've been in contact a little bit. We'll see if that helps push the edge a little bit. But, I know from I meant to ask him about when he'll be making a decision, but I think June, July another interview he did with Berm, I heard him say, so we'll see. But here we go. It's time. Let's get VB Coach in here and talk some Buckeye football. We have some interesting things come up today, but first off, what's up, VB Coach? How you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Just
Yeah, anything wild, crazy going on? No?
nope, nope, not this week. Next week will be wild and crazy, but not this one.
Okay, you're gonna wait for next week to get wild and crazy. I
Yeah.
got you, man. Well, today got announced that Matt Patricia was officially coming back. Pulled this up. If you're followed this show, watch this show, you're on the scoop board. I said at the beginning of January, that's what I was hearing. That's what I was being told, that Matt Patricia is returning. He is in love with Ohio State, loves these kids that he is coaching. And today they talked about it's official. He has signed. I think that's huge for the Buckeyes. Just we've talked about Matt Patricia a lot, but just maybe talk about the importance of getting him back. And as Nevada said previous show, it looks like a 10 million 3-year $10 million deal. So trying to keep him around for a long time. You think that's possible?
Yeah, the stuff that I was hearing and reading about his family loving it, he's got a boy that's in school, and I don't think he wants to move him around. I think he'd like to see him finish out and everything. That seems to be important to him. I know on a previous show I talked about how that dude is smiling all the time now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get to the Ohio State coaches clinic this year. I don't know if I will or not, and just kind of hear him speak and everything. So every year before the spring game, they put on a clinic. I've got spring game tickets, so I'm going to that. But you get Ohio State coaches all put on a clinic and stuff. So I'm hoping to go and see him speak there and just see what he has to say and stuff. But I would have been shocked if he left just on all of the signs I was seeing and everything. So the biggest advantage of this is consistency. These kids now know going into spring ball what his expectations are, what his defense is, the terminology. Everybody's on the same page. All the defensive coaches are back. So there's just a lot of consistency there. And that's a big deal. It really is.
Yeah. Obviously it's an interesting dynamic because Matt Patricia had a lot of success before coming to Ohio State. Kind of dwindled out a little bit in the NFL. Same with Chip Kelly. We know the Chip Kelly story. Matt Patricia did the same thing. Well, when in the beginning of January, when I had that piece of information that he was coming back, I spoke with 3 people. very close to the situation. And what I keep hearing and what I continue to be told is how much he loves these kids, man, how
Mhm.
much he loves being around them. And it's kind of like helped him as a person as well. And he's went through some struggles in life, and obviously physically he's completely changed himself. You saw the smile on his face this year when he was coaching. You saw the hugs from the players. That's real.
Yeah.
I mean, the people I'm talking to, every time I talk to him, it's Matt Patricia. You know what I mean? He is about that life. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Mhm.
real. So with him having so much success like he had in the past, like he's tasted the top of the mountain. You know what I mean? Winning Super Bowls. So that he's not going to have that big of a pool. He's been there, he's done that, and I personally think, at least with what I'm hearing, the reason he stays is the kids. I think it's huge for him. The kids he's coaching and his kids as well. That family dynamic, that family atmosphere that college football and especially Ohio State brings to the table. That's intriguing. And I know the Buckeyes, they're trying to keep him around because the word I got is, that contract is 3 years, $10 million plus. If the numbers I got were right for the bonuses that he has available to him and going to this, it's the dude can make bank. The dude can make quite a bit of money there
I
as
meant to
well.
Google today, what are NFL coordinators making? Like, if he's making over 3 right now with a chance to approach 4 or 5, I
Oh yeah.
can't see NFL guys making much more than that. So, um, you know, what is the advantage to leaving? I don't see it.
Yeah. No, I know. It's even when it was going around that some NFL team could come in and offer him a lot more money, they did.
Mm-hmm.
NFL teams came in, and that's what I was being told the entire time they did, but the dude wanted to stay. You know what I'm saying? So they just had to work some things out, and that was more of at least from my side, what I was being told, more of an agent ploy to drag it on as long as they did. But moving on from that, but still on the Matt Patricia topic, helping technician dropped an interesting nugget, and I've been excited to ask you about this because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to know more about it. But so essentially, in the past, what Ohio State does in the offseason, they will have different coaches from different college teams come in and scout them, from inside the Woody. And the purpose of helping them, fresh eyes on it. What's, are you got patterns that other teams are recognizing? Because if they can come in and recognize it, then you know what I'm saying. They're going to do it game time as well. And that's kind of been the pattern of what Ohio State has done. Well, you've seen this transition from Ryan Day going to the NFL and snagging people. Started with Chip Kelly, now Matt Patricia and Arthur Smith, and as well as other coaches on this roster. I forget all the names that have experience in NFL. It seems to be, helping technicians reporting that they're going away from using other colleges
Mm-hmm.
and they're using other NFL teams and NFL coaches to do that because of the Matt Patricia and Arthur Smith pool from as long as they've been in the NFL, all the contacts they've made. I imagine it's probably pretty easy for the Buckeyes to call a bunch of NFL scouts, NFL coaches, NFL dudes and say, hey, we'll pay you 50 grand, come in here for 2 days, scout us, give us some help there. I mean, speak to that a little bit, and how much advantage you think this is going to bring to Ohio State.
I think it's a huge advantage. One of the things you always want as a head coach is to get different perspectives from people that are outside your circle. As a high school coach, I love getting perspectives from guys that are not from Ohio. Football is going to be a little bit different in Utah, California, Florida. So when I go to clinics, I try to look for those guys to go talk to. When you're young and you go to clinics and stuff, you want to always, Brian Day's talking. I want to go see him. It's cool. It's neat and everything. Well, then later I realized at my school, I can't do what Ohio State's doing and stuff like that. So you want to get these perspectives. So I think that that's kind of what they're doing. They're getting a totally different perspective on things. They're not getting the college look. They're getting the NFL look of it. A very professional, a very business-like approach to it. So I think that's great. Football always kind of falls up the ladder instead of down the ladder. So college wants to do what the NFL is doing. High school wants to do what the college is doing. That's kind of how it is, And 20 years ago, high school offenses weren't anything like they are right now, but colleges have shown them how to do it, how to implement that stuff. And then so college coaches are going to learn from the NFL. So I just think it's following that pattern. I think it's really a great thing.
Yeah, that brings up my next question that you're going to have way more insight on it than me, because like you just brought it up. You brought the fact up that, you're seeing some high school teams now do more college things. Now you're starting to see some more college teams do some more NFL things. But, with that brings more complexity, more time to learn these things. So you at the high school level, how difficult is it? Because you're not teaching 2 or 3 kids. You have to teach how many? I mean, how many kids? 50 plus kids have to understand what is going on. You know what I'm saying? So at the high school level, they have a certain capacity of learning, retaining information, all those things. At the college level, because you can't go from, all right, my best player, he has this capacity for learning, we can teach him all these different things. You start at the bottom. You know what I mean? Whatever the lowest person can learn is pretty much what you're stuck teaching. So that bar seems to be getting raised. And you watch this year, Matt Patricia come in. That was some of people's biggest worries is, hey, is he going to make this too complex? Is this going to be too hard for these guys to learn and understand? And now Arthur Smith is coming in. Same question, man, because you brought up the good things about Arthur Smith coming is all his motions. And those get too complex for some college defenses because they're not used to it. They have to communicate. And the more communication in college, the more mistakes, the more opportunities for mistakes to be made. So with all that taken into account, kind of speak to, how difficult is this truly going to be if Ohio State wants to transition to more of an NFL team? How difficult do you think that's going to be, man?
Knowing what I know, so I know we saw this week one of the players that left Ohio State went to Notre Dame, talked about how he's got to go to class in person now.
Yes.
I wish he would have explained that a little bit more. All the kids that I'm coaching that are in college right now are doing their classes online. Like that's what everybody's doing at all levels. It sounds like this kid is just going to more classes in person and he's not used to it. I think that helps out a lot because you used to have to worry about working around the class schedule. Now that's not really a problem anymore, and that has made the game become more NFL-like. I know when I went to a spring practice, I was shocked that they were in as early as they were. I want to say we left at 6 a.m. And I'm an hour away from Columbus so that we could be at that meeting at 7 and the kids were on the field at 8. And I remember thinking, well, when do they go to class? And when I talked to them, they're like, well, we get online and do our classes when we do them. That's just how it is now. So that whole thing is totally different. Now, when you get further into your academic career, it's not that way. If you're a doctor, you're not doing everything online. So engineering, all that stuff's that way. So I think that the game definitely has become that. It has become, and NIL has also forced that. You're getting paid, so you'd better be in the film room. You'd better be in there doing the extra stuff. I know. I talked to the Ohio State strength staff one time, and I was like, "When the heck do they lift?" I was, because they were in meetings for an hour. They were on the field for 2 hours. When they got off the field, they watched the film of the practice that they were just in. They still had to do 2 or 3 hours of class. And and yet you see these kids get bigger. And I'm like, when are they lifting? When does that happen? And they laughed and they were like, it happens at all different kinds of times, and stuff. So during spring ball. Now, when they're not in spring ball, then it's all in the morning, kind of, I think 6 a.m. stuff. And we're at that point of the year. And I think I've said this before on here. Any news you get right now is probably bad news. If you're a coach, you don't want your phone ringing. So you want everything to go smooth and stuff like that right now. And that's why you have so much structure. And you're taking up a lot of these kids' times because if they know they got to be ready to go at 6 a.m., that means they got to get up probably at 4:30, get food in them, get over to the Woody, get dressed, get ready, and be on that field probably by 5:45, or in the weight room, whatever it is they're doing. So guess what? You're not out running around at midnight when you're staring at that the next morning. And so there's a
Yeah.
lot more structure in the game than there used to be.
Yeah. That's a great point that you brought up, dude. I mean, what was it been like 12 or 13 years ago? I mean, I got a degree in biological sciences, and I think the last year of school I went to one class. Like it was all online, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So now, especially after COVID happened, everything went online. I mean, you can go get a bachelor's degree and never show up once. I mean, there are strictly online colleges you can get master's degrees from without ever going to class. So
Yep.
that has changed. I never thought about that. That does allow for more time for students, definitely these football players, to maybe get into some things. But you know, when I interview these players, these freshmen, just interviewed Zion Grady, and you ask him that biggest transition, it's time.
Yes.
He said, all of them answer that. It's the time, you know, because they're up at 5 a.m. lifting, and it's just they're all over the place. And they also talk about that as something that was the biggest surprise to them as well. The amount of time that is put in to this all season long. I mean,
Yes.
all year long, the whole 9 yards. The other thing that I find interesting as we talk about the 31 players, 7,000 snaps we lost, and the 14,000 snaps that we gained, what that does as well is it helps the teaching process as well, because the more experienced players that you can have on a roster to help teach other guys. I'm not saying these portal players come in and know the scheme or whatnot, but they have the basis covered. They've been playing college football for a long time at a very high level, so they probably have a better capacity and to soak up some of these teachings from Matt Patricia or Arthur Smith, and then that gets passed down to the younger dudes in their room that might be struggling. So in a sense, you bring in these experienced players like Caleb Downs. We were always told he's a coach on the field. You know,
Yeah.
coach on Sonny Styles, coach on the field. Austin Cervo, coach on the field. So I think that's another thing you see with Ohio State is you watch them build these leaders up. And Ryan Day is always talking about, hey, they need to be bigger leaders. They need to be bigger leaders. Well, the more complex the game gets, the more leaders you need, the better leaders that you need, because, you know, if Ryan Day can't be everywhere at once, Cortez Hankton can't be everywhere at once, Coach Locke can't be everywhere at once, you got to have those players, veteran players, to be able to help, right? When these coaches aren't around or whatnot. So I think the time that you brought up that they're able to put into it, as well as teams having the opportunity to bring in these experienced players that have been around for a long time and maybe understand things a little bit better, can help as well in this process. So, you know, I was told Matt Patricia didn't even install everything. Like Matt Patricia was already on a couple year plan of
Yeah.
installing what he wants to install. And this year was just the first part of it. So,
Yeah. There, an NFL guy, there's no way he could have installed that whole thing, you know, all of his stuff,
yeah,
and a full NFL defense. There's no way. And also, you know, in 1 year when his terminology, and that's a big thing, terminology. And
yeah,
in high school, I always try to fit what the kids know, but in college, they got to learn what Matt knows. So if Matt calls it a 3-tech, what is that different than what a 3-tech was before? A 4-eye, all the different things.
yeah,
If he says bucket step, what does he mean when he says bucket step? And, you know, if he's talking about who's the contain player and everything, they all got to have the same terminology. So when he's calling a blitz, when he says dog blitz, does that mean that was it the same as what the dog blitz was before? You know, and that's one of the biggest things. So a lot of these new players coming in the portal, that's going to be the biggest obstacle for them, is learning the terminology. They know the game of football, like you've already said. They've played it. They've got snaps. They know how to play
yeah,
it. It's how do they learn that terminology? And I can tell you, having coached Taylor Decker, Taylor went ahead and graduated from high school early so that he could participate in spring ball at Ohio State. But what he also did and I don't think it ever really got reported, he was driving up every weekend after football between the time he got there and you know, when high school football ended and when he arrived at Ohio State, he was going up every weekend and spending 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 hours with the O-line
Dang.
coach to learn the offense. And Taylor was an extremely, he's a kid that's got a 3.8, 3.9 GPA. Uh,
Yeah.
and it still took that much time to learn the offense. His goal was to start as a true freshman. He came up just short. He was second team. He lettered. He was behind Reed Fraggle was who he was
Yeah.
behind. And he was so frustrated and annoyed by that. And I remember saying, well, Reed played got a cup of coffee in the NFL. You weren't behind a chump, but he put that much time and everything into it. So that's what these new guys got to do. They got to spend hours learning the offense or defense, whatever side of ball they're on, and everything, and the terminology. And I'm sure Matt is the kind of coach who loves just watching film and doing that with players. Like he probably and I think the offensive coordinator is going to be the same way. I think those guys can just sit in the film room for hours and just rewinding and rewinding and stuff. So
yeah. Dude, I got told that about Matt Patricia and Arthur Smith, that they're just film junkies. You know what I'm saying? I think you're the one that told me Arthur Smith was probably watched all the Ohio State game film before he ever stepped foot on campus. I also find it interesting that, how much impact what high school recruits are at, what that football program is like, how much that impacts that Ohio State recruits them. Because you see teams like Bergen Catholic out of New Jersey. I've always been told eerily similar to Ohio State. You know what I mean? With how they structure their program. And I'm curious if maybe Ohio State, if you gravitate a little bit more towards those players that are coming from the high school that maybe uses similar terminology or similar schemes or similar whatever, to kind of ease players into it. I've always had that question, was always curious about that. You got any insight on that? Not so much.
It's not that big of a deal. I mean, they're recruiting talent. Like if that happens, that's great. If the terminology is kind of the same or whatever. But
gotcha.
What? If you're playing in a wing T offense and you've never pass blocked, but you're a heck of an offensive lineman like Austin is. Austin played in a triple option offense. He was a guard in high school playing in the triple option offense. That didn't matter to Ohio State at all. They took him. So, talent is the big thing you're looking at. And you kind of brought up something that I had been thinking about now. Because of NIL, recruiting is totally different. Heartline was a great recruiter, and we all knew this. But how valuable are your recruiting skills of high school kids anymore? And I think that's something that Matt P. and the new OC, I don't have any idea how good of a recruiters they are, but I don't think they have to be that great because you're not trying to bring in 28 high school kids anymore. You're bringing in 15 or 20. Well, the other guys can kind of take care of that, and Matt can, show a Super Bowl ring and close the deal and everything. But I don't know if he has to spend that much time recruiting like they used to have to do. I know when Urban came in, he was a taskmaster when it came to recruiting, and that was straight from assistant coaches telling me, hey, my cell phone has to be on 24/7. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I get a text message, I better respond within 30 minutes. That was Urban's rule. And he looked at their phone bills and made sure that was happening.
Yeah, I heard that, man. That's wild. But, dude, Mark Pantoni has much said it. He said, back in the day when you recruited high school players, they came in and you would ask them about their girlfriends. You would ask about their families. You would ask different questions. He said now the question is, the first two questions, who's your agent and how much does NIL mean to you?
Yes.
So yes, relationships still matter, but it's a way different dynamic. You know what I mean? Because of money. That's just what it is. There's no way around it. You know what I'm saying? It's what you got to build that relationship because there's still teams, because if a team's offering the same amount of money, then what is the recruit going to fall back on? You're going to fall back on that relationship. But yes, you do not. I mean, there's no way around that you don't necessarily need those guys that, like the Heartlines. It is a good question as to how much does that matter anymore? I know it still does, but the severity of it, the level of it mattering it's had to go down. By the way, I think I forgot, dude. I think we were supposed to be talking about Taylor Decker today in that story. I can't remember, but do you want to this upcoming Monday? Can we do that? Can we talk about the Taylor Decker story and share a little insight there if you're available?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, there you are, everybody. We're going to be talking about. I am intrigued to see which details you can and cannot share. Well, no, you could share them all. It's over. Taylor Decker. You know what I'm saying?
The guy that
It's
we
not
had
like he's still playing.
isn't coaching anymore. So
Yeah, there we go. There we go. We're good, man. But yeah, BB coach, that it is an interesting dynamic to watch. It's almost like it's a race now, and you're watching Ryan Day and Ohio State lead that charge of going and getting NFL coaches and seeing if NFL philosophies can be brought down to the college level. And I would say so far, I mean, the experiment at Ohio State has been ultra successful with Chip Kelly. I know college, then NFL, not much NFL experience, but kind of an NFL guy. But Matt Patricia, 100% an NFL guy and had tremendous success, So I think when you think of it like that, for those of you that are a little bit nervous about the Arthur Smith hire, might not think it's a good hire. When you look at it in that frame of mind, hopefully that changes your mind, because I am thrilled with the Arthur Smith hire and with Ryan Day having the experience of already doing it with Matt Patricia and whatever plan Matt put in place of, hey, I don't want to implement everything now, but here's what I can implement. They kind of have that blueprint, at least on the defensive side of the ball, of, hey, how much can these guys handle? So hopefully they can use that blueprint with Arthur Smith on the offensive side of the ball. And if Arthur comes in and tries to change too much and make things too complicated, Ryan Day now has that experience of NFL guys with Matt Patricia to kind of control that and monitor that correctly. So it gives me some confidence, man. It also gets me excited. And I think you brought this up too, man. Boy, I mean, how much would you pay to be a fly on the wall for all those spring practices with Matt Patricia and Arthur Smith going head to head every single day, bro? That would be intense, man. Anything on that?
As far as I know, they're two different personality types. I've never seen Arthur Smith speak. I've seen Matt speak and watch him on video and stuff. I need to start looking up Arthur Smith, but I'd be very interested to see how that goes. When you're at that level, two things are happening. You don't coach at that high of a level and not have some kind of ego. Like it's not that you're not a great guy or anything, but you got an ego. It is what it is. And then two, you're ultra competitive. So if your second team offense is getting stuffed by the first team defense, we all know that should happen. How is Arthur going to take that? Or, how does he handle that? I had been to a few Ohio State practices where, guys were yelling some stuff at each other and, they weren't real happy about it, and I remember Chip Kelly not liking his second team quarterback getting blitzed on and stuff. So, and I remember telling this to the Nevada and a few others. Ohio State started running formations that I had never seen them run before, and I'd never seen them run since. They were just doing it to tick off the defense and get an advantage. Yeah, they were using kind of a wing T formation because it was called wing slot, wing to one side, tight end and a wing to one side, and a slot and a receiver to the other side. They were using the two tight ends were I know Joe Royer was one of them. He was having a heck of a practice. And I remember saying, oh my God, they're tearing it up with this formation. And the defense was getting mad. They were not happy about it. So
I guarantee you, you talked about it with two NFL dudes that have had, especially Matt Patricia and Arthur, the amount of success. NFL teams wanted him.
Yes.
Ohio State took him from the NFL, guys. This wasn't a save his career type of hire. I think everybody has that in their mind, and that's not the truth. Like he was interviewing, he would have a job if he didn't take the Ohio State job. He would have a coordinator job in the NFL right now. It's just, believe it if you want. That just is what it is. But you are right. I guarantee you there's going to be some very intense practice situations happening inside that building. It's football, bro. I'm sure you see that, don't you? Right at the high school level. Right between coaches, between players, it can get pretty intense, right?
Oh yeah. like I told you, when I was at that offensive line meeting, we're just sitting there going over offensive line stuff. And I remember Kevin Wilson was the tight ends coach, and the door just flung open, and he ran in and started screaming at an offensive lineman because when they were watching film on their side, he saw something. And he just decided I'm coming over and telling him about it. And, he just ran in there and he's like, dude, well, and he's yelling, and everybody just kind of jumped back.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So he was an intense dude. He came in, he's like, that's not going to happen again. We're, this and that. And so he looked at the O-line coach. He's like, are you agree with me, coach? And he said, heck yeah. And it added a little bit of fire.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm about that life. I love that. I love that type of coaching, that type of, because that's, you only do that, you only get up and barge in on a meeting if you are passionate about what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Behind that anger is a buttload of passion coming with that. But
we'll get to that was before 8 a.m. like on a Thursday or whatever it was or something. So
golly, dude, that's wild, bro. Clueless, what's up, Clueless? Appreciate you being here again. Thanks for the $10, brother. Do you think Matty P may want to be a college head coach at some point? If so, do you think he sticks around for a couple more years so he doesn't have to move his young family? We can all say what we think right now, and I think I kind of shared that a little bit. Yeah, I do. I think if the right opportunity presented himself, and listen, this is my way of thinking. He did it in the NFL. The dude did it already, and I don't know if he has, dreams of being a head coach in the NFL and winning a Super Bowl. You might be able to put that on his resume. That's not something that he has, but the dude's won multiple Super Bowls already. And when you see his family and the happiness that he has, it's just like, I would venture to guess that if it's true that he loves these kids as much as he does, and we know that's true at this point in time, based off the conversations I have, quite frankly, with these kids sometimes, and other people, then one would venture to guess that I'm sure that, if the right head coaching opportunity presents itself, and it's a good atmosphere for his family, that, I could see him wanting that. But, dude, that's such a hard, question with,
he's 51 years old. Prior to Ohio State, his only college experience was a GA at Syracuse. I think he was a GA for like 2 or 3 years. Other than that, he had been pure in NFL.
Really?
Yeah. So now here's what I could see happening, which is why I think this is a great question. Let's say he's at Ohio State for the next 2, 3, 4 years, and he really enjoys the college game as to, and in what it all entails, not just the coordinator part of it. And, and he's seeing, hey, Ryan Day doesn't get to do all that stuff. If you're going to be a good college coach, you're kind of, the CEO of the program.
Yeah, that's true.
So, does he want to do that? Does he feel that he can still impact kids that way? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's something that we'll just have to wait and see, but it's a great question and there's no way to answer. Only Matt can answer that one. So,
yeah, that is interesting. That's an interesting point to bring up. The fact that the responsibilities as a college head coach is not the responsibilities as even a coordinator. I'd venture to guess that the coordinator probably has 50% more contact with the players than the head coach. I mean, I could be way off there, but the point is, way more contact as a coordinator, way more personal than the head coach has so many things to do, man. But listen, I'm excited. Ryan Day, by the way, has won 87% of his college football games. At one point in time this year, he surpassed Newt as the most winningest coach in college football, but he ended with the 2 losses, brought him below 88.1%, which is what Newt's winning percentage is. So this year, everybody, Ryan Day will officially become the winningest coach in college football history. For those Ryan Day haters out there, there you go. So I like the moves that he's making. Recruiting is on fire. They're changing with the times. They're changing the dynamic. They're also leading the charge on the field play with going out and hiring these NFL guys. Man, I'm excited to start hearing. I'm excited for spring ball to start. We're right around the corner, and that's when you start hearing hey, which one of these, that's when you start hearing a lot of players that have physically changed their bodies, really showing up. You get some intel on the freshmen, what freshmen are showing up in these practices. It's an exciting time. VB coach, what you got?
Nothing else really. I'm wearing my Carter Lowe t-shirt. I don't know if anybody can see that.
Nice.
I got that on. So he put this out when he was still in high school. So I love wearing that. So, and I got my scoop hat on. So, but yeah, I am excited for spring ball. Like I said, my girlfriend got us tickets the other day. So I will be at the spring game. I think even got club seats. I was amazed at how expensive the tickets were for spring ball this year, but
oh really? They're up.
I'm old enough. I remember it being, $5 to go to the spring game or, something like that.
Yeah.
Or really even free or whatever. I want to say tickets are 16 or 18 for general admission, and it was like 50 or 60 for the club level seats. So,
oh dang.
So yeah,
dude, I might have to try to convince you to get us some good video shot on your phone to play on the show. You know what I mean?
I can try.
Yeah. All right, VB coach. Hey, I appreciate you, man, for joining the show. We'll see you again on Monday. We're going to be talking about Taylor Decker, getting the inside story there on his high school days, his recruitment. It's going to be a fun show. But chat, appreciate you guys. Appreciate the super chats. Please hit that like button on your way out, the subscribe button as well. And as always, if you're listening on Spreaker or Apple Podcasts, give us a like button and check out the Scoop message board. Until next time, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Go Buckeyes. OH.
IO.